Bedford level experiment was performed numerous times in the mid to late 1800s by Samuel Rowbotham, the author of Zetetic Astronomy and Earth Not a Globe. The experiment was conducted in a 6-mile stretch of the Old Bedford River in Norfolk, England. Rowbotham used a telescope positioned 8 inches above the water and observed a friend in a boat with a flag on its mast positioned 3 feet above the water. If accepted calculations of supposed Earth curvature were correct, at a distance of 5 miles, there would be a measurable drop of 16 feet due to the Earth's curvature, and the flag would not be visible. Keep something in mind before we continue.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet. Imagine what you know tomorrow.
John Hampton, a friend and supporter of Rowbotham, offered a sum of 500 pounds sterling to anyone who could prove curvature and disprove the Bedford level experiment. A close colleague of Charles Darwin accepted the bet. His name was Sir Alfred Russel Wallace. Wikipedia and many other modern scientific references claim that Wallace easily debunked Rowbotham by factoring in atmospheric refraction and supposedly proving curvature of water in a 6-mile stretch of the Bedford River. Wikipedia also states that the referee of the experiment was the editor of a scientific journal called The Field, and that he promptly paid Wallace after he easily won the wager. Here's what Wikipedia and other science books fail to explain. The referee in question was John Henry Walsh, editor of The Field. He was not present on the day of the bet and was replaced by a local apothecary named Mr. Culture. An apothecary, by the way, is similar to a pharmacist and was responsible for making all known medications of that era, including very potent opiate painkillers. John Hampton stated in his manuscript, The Bedford Canal Swindle Exposed, that Culture was a major slacker and paid no attention whatsoever to the specific variables of the bet. Alfred Wallace had complete control of all factors and measurements necessary to manipulate the experiment to demonstrate imaginary curvature of water. Concerning Wikipedia's explanation of atmospheric refraction, it is interesting to note that to this day, there is no concrete way to calculate refraction because the supposed variables, which are constantly changing, including air temperature, atmospheric pressure, and relative humidity, are nearly impossible to gauge and create a general accepted standard. This seems like another case of special relativity, which was created by Einstein to debunk the Michelson-Morley experiment. If you're not familiar with Michelson-Morley, check it out, watch some videos, very interesting stuff. You will be shocked at what you discover. Wallace was also close friends with Charles Darwin and instrumental in Darwin's theory of natural selection. Both were members of the Royal Geographical and Geological Societies of London, and both had ties to Freemasonry and British royalty. The Bedford level experiment had to be debunked at any cost because it challenged the Newtonian paradigm, which still governs scientific theory today. Linear causality does not account for quantum mechanics and spiritual components, which are beginning to cause a massive rift in the left-brain logical scientific community that is without explanation for a lot of observable phenomena we witness today. Rowbotham and Hampton were up against some of the most powerful people in the world who would go to any lengths to preserve the Newtonian paradigm. The reality about water is that it is level and will always travel to a place to find its level. With modern technology, it's easy to see that it is scientifically impossible to detect or measure supposed curvature of the Earth. You may ask, how could a lie this big be told for this long and be accepted as the core belief of our existence on this supposed planet? This should answer that question. Once the belief system is buried in the back of your mind as a child, the stresses and responsibilities of adulthood prevent any questioning whatsoever of this indoctrination. It is also socially unacceptable to question the most simple and generally accepted scientific dogma of our time. Not to mention the fact that any mention of the concept of us living on a flat plane instantly brings images like these into our consciousness. We all remember the fairy tale about the voyage of Christopher Columbus and that they believed they were going to fall off the edge of the earth. Utter nonsense. Imagine what would happen if humanity realized that they were at the center of the universe, which was created by intelligent design, protected by a firmament, and we were not hurtling through space on an imaginary spinning ball. By the way, NASA still can't provide us with a high-definition, unphotoshopped picture of the Earth, despite an annual budget that ranges between $12 and $18 billion. If astronauts were really up there, you think someone could at least snap a picture on an iPhone. If you don't think you are being lied to, programmed, and controlled on multiple levels, check this out.
It's proof right there. This is an official NASA photo of the first Apollo 11 lunar module landing on the moon. I mean, it's right there. This is proof, man. It's the picture's right there. It's landing on the moon. But the only problem I have with this picture is that it's taken from the moon. I don't know what the big deal was with being the first guy on the moon. It seems the camera crew was already there.
Hey, all right, do you see Photoshop?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and if those of you think this technical difficulty was planned and think I'm scamming you, go do it for yourself. I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. You see the Earth?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go to Image, Adjust, Levels, and I'm going to bring the levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. To replicate clouds.
Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning, and it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere, it's oblate, and officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
So hopefully you're still with me. If we were living on a spinning ball that was spinning at the equator at a speed above 1,000 miles an hour, it would be impossible for water to remain on this ball. There is no situation in nature where physics can prove to us that gravity will hold water around a ball like they claim it does. And when you were in kindergarten and you asked your teacher or your parents how people in Australia walk around and do what they do upside down, you were onto something. But because we were not educated, we were indoctrinated, we were taught never to question the official narrative about anything. So that's where this is going. And when you sit back and look at the magnitude of the deception, it's really unbelievable how this has gone on for this long. And when I first saw these YouTube videos about flat Earth, I wouldn't even click on them because I thought they were ridiculous. And I figured, I'm college educated, I have a good career, I'm successful. Why do I want to waste my time on something so ridiculous? I would prefer to watch something different. So finally I gave in and I was hooked. And like a 100 other guys I've heard on YouTube, I originally started my quest trying to disprove such a ridiculous theory. And after failing over and over and over, everything started to add up. When you look at the secrecy about the North Pole, first off, and you look at the secrecy and limited access to Antarctica, and you listen to Admiral Richard Byrd speak about his journeys and adventures into Antarctica, and then you research Operation High Jump and Majestic 12, which are all declassified, and I'll definitely be getting into more detail in future videos, you start to realize that there is something really, really secretive going on in Antarctica. And you look at the pictures of the gigantic ice wall, and you start to realize that this ice wall basically encompasses the entire plane we live on. So this gets crazy when you start going this far down the rabbit hole, and then you say, how could my entire reality have been fabricated? And human beings are innocent by nature and very open to programming and suggestion. And we have some puppet masters pulling the strings in this reality that are highly skilled, highly intelligent, and very well funded. And their goal is to keep you spinning on this imaginary ball so everything in your life spins out of control, and you barely have enough time to put together one critical thought in your head with the hundreds of distractions, whether it be entertainment or social media or the stresses of daily life, bills and kids and jobs and bosses and traffic and vehicles that break down and mortgages to pay and all of this kind of stuff. So we're being assaulted on so many different levels that it's very obvious at this point that there's some type of massive awakening going on. Because if you would have told me 6 months ago that I would be investigating these type of topics on a YouTube channel, I would have told you you were crazy. And, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think about you. There's a really good meme. It says, I used to care what other people thought about me until I tried paying my bills with their opinions. And the reality is you're not going to pay your bills with anybody's opinions but your own. So, and it's also fascinating too that the haters just come out in droves when you start making videos like this, man. People hate this stuff because it either makes them feel really insecure that their fabricated reality is starting to crumble like a house of cards, or they really wish they were flying through space on a spinning ball, circling a gigantic ball of fire, hurtling through infinite space, and that they were created when nothing exploded to create everything, which is the Big Bang Theory, that all of this came from absolutely nothing that exploded, which is just nonsense. So, it's pretty obvious I believe in intelligent design. It's pretty obvious I believe we are not moving at all and everything is circling around us. So if you are on the same page, or you don't even have to be on the page, but I'm going to tell you what, do some research and open your mind, because there's an awakening going on, and this is what will push you off the edge and really get you to change your perspective on everything, because we are talking about a complete and total fabrication of reality that you've been indoctrinated into. We've all been indoctrinated into it. So till next time,